Okay. Well, I have a question.
Yeah,
Because I'm not on social media all that often. I go on
right.
once or twice a week, and I like everything I possibly can without really consuming content because
Good, good. Yeah,
that's my service project. That's my
sure,
hours of service.
sure.
So, okay, President Nelson is on Instagram.
As the cold winds of winter sweep in, there's nothing like the warmth of a comforting cup to help you slow down and unwind. This is the season. Let Postum be your cozy companion. Made from roasted grains, Postum is caffeine-free and rich with a smooth roasted flavor. It's the perfect drink for those quiet, chilly mornings. Whether you're curled up with a good book, sharing a laugh with loved ones, or simply watching the snow fall outside, a cup of Postum is the moment you have been waiting for.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Mormons. This is the very first episode of 2025 with your hosts, Matt and Melissa.
Oh, Matt, 2025 is shaping up to be a good year just by the sound of your introduction. That was so energetic.
I know that for some people, 2024 was a tough year. For
Oh,
all of you that it was tough for, 2025 is going to be better because it has to be, right? If it was a bad year last year, it's got to be better this year.
sure. Yeah,
And
sure.
if you're like me, where 2024 was awesome,
Yeah,
it's going to stay awesome for
yeah.
everybody. I'm the Lego guy. Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. I think it's fine to be positive. I mean, I don't think that's the only direction things can go is up, but why not plan for it?
Yeah. And if your 2025 hasn't been so awesome so far, don't worry. Something good's around the corner.
Now, Matt, thank you for that pep talk.
hmm
Yeah,
So, welcome to This Week in Mormons. We're glad you're with us.
so
The,
glad.
I found some dirt in the comment section of YouTube. So why
Am
not
I gonna
start with?
like it? Am I gonna like it?
I don't know. I
Okay.
actually don't. So it was from somebody named @TimothyFowers.
Okay.
Uh, do we know him personally? This is a personal attack that Timothy Fowers is like.
I don't know anybody named that name, but I
It
don't
could
know.
be Timothy F. Hours. Anyhow, he wrote, "Your comments on the city of Fairview not wanting a temple is very ignorant. Don't you know the facts?"
Okay,
Um.
well, I'm sorry. I don't want to clap back, but your grammar is improper. So if you're going to make a
Oh.
comment,
Oh.
you should use proper grammar, okay? Your comments on the city of Fairview not wanting a temple is very
Oh.
ignorant. I think you mean are very
Are
ignorant.
comments are not comments is.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think I don't remember because it's been a while since we recorded, Maddie, but I'm pretty sure we stated that we did not know the facts, that we were just stating opinions. Like you said, what do you think? And I said, I don't really know, but my opinion is. So
Yeah. Yeah, and in
yeah,
fairness, now that I'm remembering back, wasn't this like we woke up early in the morning and recorded because we forgot or whatever we were supposed to record? Like,
maybe.
we didn't come in with a ton of preparation on that episode. So,
Yeah.
Timothy F. Hours, I'm so thankful to
No,
you.
listen, we're
For,
glad you listen, and we'd love
yeah.
to actually talk to you about it more. If you have more information, I think this is a story that lots of listeners have been following. So if you have actual information, we'd love to talk to you. So reach out and we'll schedule an interview.
Yeah. On our year in review episode, we
Mhm.
mentioned that if listeners have somebody they want us to interview for our interview podcast, they should
Yeah.
let us know.
Okay.
So somebody wrote in and said, I don't know them, but I've been impressed with my son's mission president and his wife, President and Sister Schlettinga in the Ogden, Utah mission. They are from
Cool.
the Netherlands. I have no idea if they would be open to that or not.
Okay. Hey, shout out to President and Sister Schlettinga. We don't
Melissa,
know you, but apparently you're awesome.
what mission are you in? Where do you live?
Am I in that mission?
I think you are. I think you're in that mission.
It's not a focus of my everyday life. I'm sorry to all of those excellent member missionaries that I am not doing my part. Okay, great.
Um,
Okay,
I was just wondering, like, have you been to state conference and seen them on the stand and said, I'm
probably,
impressed with them? Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Okay, I'm on it, Matt. I'm on it. Regardless of whether we interview you or not, I think it's a great shout out to know that um, one of your elders'
Missionaries. Yeah,
parents
yeah.
thinks you're doing a rock solid job.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. We do have people that are former mission presidents.
okay.
I have a good friend. he and his wife were mission presidents in Mexico, and now they're like serving over service missionaries. And so
Oh,
those are, I think you wanted like a service missionary person and a mission president. So we get 2 in 1 with this. So I'm going to try and line up that interview. But
okay.
I also am not sure if mission presidents and their wives are allowed to do podcasts while
I
serving
know.
on
I
there.
think you have to be released, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find
But
out.
at any rate, hey, listener, if you're interesting and want us to interview you, let us know. We'd love
We'll
to.
interview you too.
Yeah.
And Timothy F. Hours or Fowers. If you want to be an interviewee, we'll interview you.
We are the most open people, Matt.
We'll talk to anyone about
Yeah,
anything.
of
At least
course.
we'll invite them to talk to us.
Of course.
Okay, Melissa, let's get to the quick clips.
Okay, there's a lot of really quick clips this week, and so I am going to try to bust through them. The first one is from our prophet, President Nelson. This isn't the story, but did you see him posting on social media playing the piano?
No.
It was the cutest, sweetest thing. He played Silent Night and he just like put it out there on social media. And I was like, do you know what? Our prophet is a Renaissance man. I don't
Okay,
remember what
I like
Renaissance
this.
man means, but I feel like it fitted because he's like, he's smart in so many ways and he's like talented in so many ways. That's what Renaissance man means, isn't it?
I remember when I was in my 30s, somebody at church said, "You're never too old to learn to play an instrument." And I was like, I don't know, 30 years old seems kind of old. But maybe this is President Nelson letting us know you're never too old to play an instrument.
Maybe. I think he's played for a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
he didn't start in his 90s?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Not the story, however.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I'm not on social media all that often. I go on
Right.
once or twice a week and I like everything I possibly can without really consuming content.
Good, good. Yeah.
That's my service project. That's my
Sure.
hours of service.
Sure.
So, okay. President Nelson is on Instagram.
Yeah, all of the general authorities are on Instagram. And
Is
then
it like
there's
highly curated? Is it President Nelson like
it's
okay.
highly curated. Yes. I
Got it.
don't see him post every week or anything like that.
And it's not like he wouldn't make a grammatical error in one of his posts or something. It's not like he's
No.
doing talk to text or something as he's
It's
driving down the road.
definitely it's definitely gone through some sort of a PR department. But nonetheless, it was fun to see.
Wait, one other question.
Okay, now I'm trying to do quick clips.
I know.
Go ahead. Go
Do you
ahead.
think he actually has a personal Instagram that he like with his friends and family?
Do I think he does? Yeah, sure, why not? Renaissance man, he would.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. Now
I think he has one that just is just private for just his family and friends.
Now I'm persuaded he is a Renaissance man. Okay,
Yes.
thank you,
Okay.
Melissa.
You're welcome. Okay, well, he also did another post where he talked about that it's been 25 years since the document "The Living Christ" was published. Remember that?
Yeah.
Do you know it was 25 years ago?
I mean, it feels like just yesterday, but yeah, 25
Doesn't
years
it?
goes by.
Yeah. Anyway, so he just said, hey, I was part of the group that put that out 25 years ago, and I just want us to refocus on that. And so he said, if you're thinking about New Year's resolutions, which we can talk about if we are or not, because I don't do those. Do you?
No, I don't do New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, I don't either. It's not how I live my life. But I'm not mad if you do. It's just like if I want to change something, I just kind of change it.
We do it as like St. Patrick's Day resolutions because when I go to the gym for a month, I want it to already be empty. I hate when my gym goal is when everybody else's gym goal
when they're
happens
all
to-
there in January and February. And
Yeah,
you're
so
like, hello, this is my space. When
So if
will
I
you
show
be done?
If I show up at March 17th, they're like, oh, look, he's here for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels better.
Matt, what do you think our prophet has encouraged us that our New Year's resolution could be thinking about that he's talking about this Living Christ document?
Think celestial.
That is not it, but it's probably in line.
Gather Israel on both sides of the veil.
That probably has a lot to do with it. One more guess.
Listen to the Spirit.
Okay. President Nelson has extended the invitation for the new year, come to the temple as often as your circumstances allow. So yes, he says in the house of the Lord, we focus on the Savior. We make covenants. We're strengthened to achieve our other New Year's resolutions. So, I mean, you were kind of in line, but specifically go to the temple. Oh, are you? Okay, let's hear about it.
I live in a city with a lot of members of the church who like to follow the prophet.
Right.
And then a temple with limited space. And I know that they're building a second temple, but it is hard for me whenever they say in general conference, go to the temple more often or President Nelson says this for the new, because I know I'm not going to get into a session for a long time.
Okay. Matt?
Whereas if I'm in Logan, Utah, not to like
Right.
throw shade on you guys, but there's just a
Sure.
big temple there. There's a lot of space in that
There's
temple.
a
So
big temple. I go to Brigham City because it's actually more convenient for me. Smithfield Temple should open before too long. Matt, what we're talking about are third world problems, first world problems, whatever the world problems.
first world
I'm trying to
problems.
make it in terms of the church, like let's see, true believing Mormon problems. I don't know what we call it, but your problem is not a problem.
Ugh,
Okay?
I can't
Okay?
follow the prophet the way that I would like to
Do you know
because
what?
everybody else is trying to at the same
You
time.
travel so much. I don't know why you couldn't hit a temple in a different state
No,
or country every
actually,
month.
we do. We actually do. And when I
Yeah.
went to Los Angeles, it was
Mhm.
wonderful. There were so few. Now, see, I'm going to get in trouble for saying it's wonderful, but there were so few people in the Los Angeles temple. You got to have an entire row in the temple all to yourself. You could lay down in the row
Ugh,
if you wanted to lay down. In fact, one
that
person
sounds
was
amazing.
laying down in the temple,
Yeah.
and nobody cares because they're just happy that you're in the temple. So,
Oh, see, I love the church there. That sounds
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah, as opposed to you where you have to sit right next to somebody
I know.
and like really like squeeze in. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, listen, Matt.
I feel like I'm on a Frontier airline flight every time I go to the temple.
Yes, yes, you're right. It's time to move on. Our quick clips
Okay,
have been very
it's
slow.
become too
Okay.
long.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's an article about how you can subscribe to the church news in print and online.
Hmm.
We're going to put a link in the show notes. Listener, if you aren't getting enough church news from us, you can just get it on your phone or something like that. Or maybe you don't like the commentary. That's fine. Just look at the church news app. It's there. Moving
Okay,
on.
moving on. Well, I do have a quick question. Do you think
Oh,
people look at the church news similar to like the church magazines, like that you should be subscribing to it and reading it regularly as part of like your religious study?
when I was a missionary, that was the only time I could that was the only news I could read was church magazines and church news. And
Mhm.
so I consumed it like crazy. And since
Okay.
I've been home from my mission, I never consume it at all.
Okay,
Because
perfect.
yeah, if I
Yeah,
need church news, I turn to This Week in Mormons. I mean,
absolutely.
I get good news, I get fun, I get commentary, I
Yeah.
get to know the hosts of the podcast in a
Yeah.
special and meaningful way.
It's really, really a way to connect everybody in the whole world.
Mhm.
Okay, Matt, next up, curriculum resources for the 2025 Come Follow Me have been released. They're available in the Gospel Library app. We're studying the Doctrine and Covenants this year in 2025. I'm sure you've already started because
I
we're
actually
into January already.
I just finished the Doctrine and Covenants. Yeah, I started a
Okay.
couple months ago.
Okay, perfect.
Melissa, there is
So,
so much good content in the Doctrine and Covenants. I
is
cannot
there?
wait. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite years of gospel study.
Yeah.
Actually, I do like the Doctrine and Covenants. Something that I don't know has probably been going on for a couple years is that there's no like printed manuals going to be handed out. You have to like specially request one or ordered one. They
Yeah.
basically just want you to do it on your phone and use the app.
We still order it. We still get the
Yeah,
printed one.
I like the printed version too, especially when I'm teaching. I find it much more helpful, but you can do you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of resources available now in the Gospel Library app.
Actually, now that I think about it, I never ever refer to the Come Follow Me manual. Now that I think about it,
Oh, okay.
I'm worried that they're going to poison my mind with their ideas. And I want to just have it be fresh, like whatever
Hmm.
I think when I read the scripture block.
Is that true, Matt?
It is.
Like if you're
So,
teaching a class, you're
oh
like,
no.
here's the topic. I will just roll with it.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
kind of do that too a
Yeah,
little bit
I don't
because I
refer to the
assume you've
manual.
studied it at home
Yeah.
and in seminary if you're teaching youth.
Yeah. So that actually, when I'm teaching, I intentionally stay away from the manual because everyone's read the manual and I
Hmm.
don't want them telling me all the things that they learned when they were reading the manual.
Okay.
And then for our family, we also share verses from Come Follow Me. Same
Hmm.
thing. I stay away from the manual because I don't want to be drawn to all the same kind of, I just want to find my own thing. I just want to experience it in my own way.
Okay. Good,
Mhm.
Matt. You are so special.
Spiritual. Spiritual.
Spiritual, yeah. Additionally, President, remember how I talked a couple months ago about how Teachings of the Presidents of the Church is doing a Russell M. Nelson edition? They
Yes.
have those books, Teachings of the Presidents of the Church, and they're doing Russell M. Nelson, even though he isn't dead yet. And
Yes.
they released 4 chapters initially. They just recently released 6 more chapters. So
Oh,
now you can study 10 chapters of Teachings of the Presidents of the Church, Russell M. Nelson. I think it's kind of interesting that they're not releasing the chapters in order.
yeah.
So there's like 28 chapters. This time they released 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, and 24. I don't know.
They're
Maybe they think
still
it has to do with
editing some of them.
well, maybe they think it has to do with like what we're studying this year in the Doctrine and
Oh.
Covenants, or I don't really know. But anyways, that's available now.
Do you know what I would love, Melissa?
No.
Next General Conference,
Yeah.
President Nelson just opens up the teachings of President Nelson and reads a chapter.
As I said in chapter 8.
Oh man, I would love that so much. Or they
Yeah.
record it as an audiobook, right? And he doesn't even stand up at General Conference. They just
Yes.
put the audiobook, push play.
Wait, maybe that can be his Instagram posts for the coming year. 1 a week. Just read a little bit.
Oh, I would love that
I think
so
that's a
much.
good idea. Okay.
All right, so my stories are a little bit more sad, more contrite, Melissa. I don't know if
All
you
right.
can get in a
I
contrite
can get in
mood.
the mood. Yeah.
Elder Merrill C. Oakes died this week.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
His brother is Dallin H. Oakes.
Okay.
And he was an Emeritus General Authority 70. So he was called in the 70 in the 90s. And then when you turn 70 years old, if you're in the quorum of 70, when you turn 70, you're made Emeritus.
Okay.
And so he has for the last 18 years. So he only served in the quorum of 70 for like 6 years or something like that. And then he was made Emeritus. And then the last 18 years, he's been Emeritus. And
Okay.
so wouldn't that be interesting? Like President Oakes is your older brother. He's called as a general authority before you.
Okay. So he was called first. Okay.
Mhm. And then you're the younger brother. You get called to be in the 70 and you serve like 6 years. And you can never complain to your brother about how hard your job is because he'll always be like, well, you're going to be in retirement. You're going to be emeritus status in a couple years. And I never get to be emeritus. I have to just keep going and going and going.
I
That'd
don't
be
think I
weird,
would
right?
look at it that way.
Oh, okay.
I think I would be like, I got this calling because my brother's in a position of authority. Because look,
No.
that happens a lot. Look, Elder Holland, Elder Eyring.
Wait, Elder Holland, it's his son, not his brother.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, family connections. Elder Eyring, same thing, family connections.
No, Elder Eyring doesn't have anyone in his
His
family.
dad was in.
No.
Yeah,
His dad was just a scientist.
Henry J., Henry B.
Henry J. is not a general authority.
There's multiple Eyrings, I feel like.
There's not. There's just a building named after them.
I feel like if you're related to a Hinckley or a Hales, I feel like there's a lot of connections.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying it's bad. Like, okay, for example, throwing no shade on myself or my husband, but, our current calling is in a YSA bishopric. We're 100% sure we got the calling just because his best friend is the bishop, okay? And sometimes you got to serve with someone that you trust and can rely on. And so you get that calling. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not even saying it's not inspiration, but we absolutely know there's no way we would be in this calling unless my husband's best friend was the bishop, because nobody would know who we are.
Okay, but if my brother was called in the Quorum of the 12, and then down the road, I get called to be a general authority, I would be displeased with my brother. I'd be like, you're supposed to protect me. You're not. You're supposed to make sure that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, but maybe, okay, everything is about you, Matt. Everything is about you. Maybe there's another way to look at it, right? Like maybe it's someone he can trust and rely on and know that he can depend on.
Okay.
And whose insights he finds valuable.
I like
Okay, I don't know. We're way off track, but I do need to know how many other Oakes brothers there are. Like, did they get the shaft? Okay.
There's just two brothers, 2 sisters.
Okay, great.
Okay. Now, if you were to ask any old member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what do you think about President Jimmy Carter? I would say 80% of them would have a negative opinion of Jimmy Carter.
Oh, really? How come?
He was a Democrat before Ronald Reagan. And people who were old enough to remember him that were members of our church were probably Republicans and loved Ronald Reagan.
Okay. So Ronald Reagan beat him?
In the 1980 presidential election, yes.
Okay.
But Jimmy Carter actually had an amazing life. And I think, like, if you just set aside politics or partisanship, he's the kind of person we should want to emulate as members of the church. And so the first presidency, because President Carter died this week,
Yes.
the first presidency put out a statement honoring the life of Jimmy Carter. And so I like that. I think it's great that the church is honoring him.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So BYU, you know the BYU, the university, the Brigham
Yeah.
Young.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to their BYU devotionals? They have a podcast and I think it's on
Yeah.
YouTube. I don't know. I try to listen sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Here's to be honest. I listen sometimes in the morning when I'm getting ready. I try to pick something more like spiritual to listen to. So sometimes I'm listening to the scriptures or to come follow me, but sometimes I'm pulling up a BYU devotional.
Yeah.
Anyways, the news is that they released their list of speakers for the upcoming year. There's wow, it's like a lot of apostles, a lot of general authorities. I thought in the past that they pulled more from faculty members, but there's only
Right.
a couple that aren't like general authorities. So,
Well, and the
um,
ones that aren't general authorities are like not from BYU, right? They're inviting people from other campuses, like a
yes,
Constitution Center person and
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah. But the one I'm most excited for is Kalani Sitake,
Oh,
BYU
the
head,
coach.
yeah, the head football coach. He's going to be in March.
Ah.
Yeah, so we can
No,
look forward to that.
I've noticed it. So BYU Idaho doesn't get as many general authorities. BYU is packed
Hmm.
with general
Hmm.
authorities. But I do think that they're trying now to mix it up and not have it be faculty members as much.
I
I
see.
don't know exactly why, but I have
I know
noticed that
why.
that's the. Oh,
It's
tell
because
me.
they can't trust them. They might have ideas that are their own. That's what I think.
I like that. I'm gonna embrace
Okay.
that. They
Okay.
can't trust us. All right. My quick clip. We're still in the quick clips.
Yeah.
The youth theme is "Look unto Christ," and
Hmm.
apparently there's a podcast out there
Okay.
where President Lund and President Freeman talk about the youth theme.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We put a link to the podcast out there. It's on the church news. Look
Yeah.
unto Christ. That's the theme. So those of you who have youth that maybe haven't been paying attention, now you know.
Yeah.
Look unto Christ. That's the key phrase.
Yeah. And I don't want to throw shade because there's room for all kinds of podcasts in the world, but the Church News podcast, it's pretty boring, Maddie. Have you listened to it?
Well, no, because if I need church news, I come to This Week
I
in
know.
Mormons.
Listen, that episode is actually just fine, but I'm just saying, like in general, I don't think your youth are going to be like, oh, let me sit down and listen to the Church News podcast. But give it a whirl, parents. Give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Episode 221. I had no idea they've done so many episodes of that
Yeah.
podcast.
They do it pretty regularly, but yeah, it's kind of boring, in my opinion.
In my opinion as well. If you need news, come to us.
Or if you need opinion. Okay, the church is spending money. So that's
Wow.
what my next two stories are about. They bought some more land in Florida. This story actually comes from a Florida newspaper. So I just think it's interesting that Florida is reporting on how much the church is buying land in Florida. Let's see, another $102 million in South Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, property's not a bad investment.
No,
So
not at all. Not at all.
I think if the church were dumping money into crypto, people might be nervous. But something about buying an apartment complex feels less scary.
Sure.
I
Listen,
don't
whatever you want to do is fine with me. They also donated money in Ghana, in the country of Ghana, to a mental health facility
know.
at a regional hospital. I thought that was an interesting expenditure of money. Ghana needed the facility, they needed room and I don't know, equipment to be able to do the mental health work that they want to do there. So the church donated a whole hospital there. So
So
good
that
job.
one's on the church news website, right?
Yeah.
So I do wonder a little bit with all of the stories that have come out in the last couple of years about how much money the church has in like holdings.
Mhm.
Church is intentionally slow dripping all these stories about where they're spending money on good things.
Sure. Do it.
I've
Do
heard,
it. Hey, tell us. I think that's great.
yeah, okay.
Brag. Tell us. Yeah. Why
We'll
shouldn't we?
talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I just
Otherwise,
think we're looked at as this extraordinarily wealthy religion, which we are, an extraordinarily wealthy church. But I also think that we spend a lot of that money every year. I mean, I think last year we spent $1.6 billion in humanitarian goods. I'm quoting that off the top of my head. It's somewhere in that range.
yeah.
But That's a lot of money in relief humanitarian issues. And then if you count like the service hours on top of that, it's so much more. So guess what? We can't donate if we don't have money. So we're investing so that we continue to grow, and we're spending money on good things. And I think you should tell us about it. I think it's great.
Okay, one last quick clip, Melissa, and it's not. I'm not going to put it in the show notes because it's from the Washington Post, and I don't want to make people pay to read this article. But
Okay. Are you sure you're not making it up?
I'm positive.
Just checking.
Anyone can Google it. Okay, Washington Post called 2024 the year of the Mormon woman because of and specifically they mentioned what is the Housewives show?
Secret Lives.
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah.
They mentioned the Stanley Cup thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
then
let me just drink my sponsored drink.
And I don't know what else they mentioned. But
Probably Heretic movie, probably Ballerina Farm and other influencers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Melissa, I'm going to call you a Mormon woman because that's what you are. Do you appreciate that? Okay, do you appreciate the idea of 2024 is the year of the Mormon woman because of all of that? Do you think that that represents Mormon women in the way that we would want them to be represented?
Yeah, I'm all for it. Great, go for it. Give Mormon women whatever kind of attention you want to give them, because guess what? I don't think that there is one way to look at Mormon women. And I also think if you look at these things, Heretic, we've got Sister Missionaries, we got Secret Lives. Ballerina Farm is very traditional and old school. Like, we've got a lot of different kinds of representations. Do any of them accurately represent me? No, not even. I feel like I'm pretty mainstream and none of them actually represent me. But what it does is say, like, we're not that weird. And we're a lot of different things. Like, we're very diverse. And what it also says is, we don't care if you talk about us. Talk about us, talk to us. And I think that's all really good. I really do.
I like it, Melissa. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't put any thought into that. I just remembered that I saw that and wondered what you thought.
Okay, well, we've got a story a little bit later on that's more connected to it, but let's hit it right now, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so it's under big deal, little deal, no deal, okay?
Uh-huh.
So you can tell me. It's an opinion piece by the Deseret News, okay? So just keep that in mind. So here's the headline. Living the gospel makes women less consumed in superficial appearance.
Wait a minute. That's the opposite of what we just talked about.
I know. That's why it's kind of related, okay?
Yeah. Okay, so this is somebody
little
wrote
deal,
in
no
the
deal. Yeah,
Okay.
big deal, little deal, no deal. 3, 2, 1.
No deal.
Big deal.
Big deal?
You can't say it's the year of the Mormon woman and say that it's not important.
No. Okay, so that part is a big deal. This opinion, I disagree with the opinion, so that's why I said it was a no deal.
Okay, you can disagree with the opinion, but it is based in a little bit of research, okay? And what they're talking about is not specifically LDS people, although it is LDS people, but they're talking about religious people in general. But what they're saying is that, you know, like, let's talk about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, okay? These are a lot of women who live the gospel in very different levels. They're talking about people who are religious and practice that religion pretty, what's the word exactly? Rigidly.
Dogmatically?
Yes. They're saying that those women have less issues with trying to measure up, trying to be perfect, worrying about what they look like, and worrying about how they come across than people who are sort of borderline following all of the rules.
Not as
those
dogmatic.
People are more consumed with how they look, how they appear, being perfect, their image. Kind of interesting.
This disturbs me.
Oh, good. I like to disturb you at least once an episode. Tell me more.
So recently I was having a conversation. I don't think it's news to anybody that individuals in Idaho do not like individuals in California. They look down on they say things like, don't Californicate Idaho, things like that, right? They say,
oh, I need that t-shirt. Yeah. Go on.
So it's weird because I love California. I love the beach. There's so much I love about it. But if I tell somebody I'm going there, they sort of look at me like, why would you go there? Those people are awful. Those people are whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so then recently I was having a conversation with somebody, with a group of people about this, and I said, it feels like people in Idaho are starting to think about Utah the same way that they think about California. And they say, I was like, it seems like there's this perception that people in Utah are different than people in Idaho in the way they live the gospel. And they're like, yeah, you mean like
Mhm.
all of those breast enhancement billboards that you see and all
Mhm.
of those whatever
Mhm.
billboards that you see when you drive through Utah.
Yeah.
So then this opinion piece would seem to reinforce this perception that if you're
Okay.
not materialistic,
Mhm.
you're more righteous or
Yes.
holier than the
Mhm.
people who are more materialistic.
That is what it seems to be saying, but it's using statistics to say it. And side note, since you brought it up, you know how we always believe that Utah women have so much more plastic surgery than anyone else?
Yeah.
It's not actually true. So, according to the Pew Research Center, um, the Latter day Saint women in Utah report lower than average rates of plastic surgery, 5.6%, compared with the national average of 7%. So it's
Oh,
actually not a true statistic, even though it seems pretty true.
because
It
of the
seems
billboards,
pretty,
right?
well, yeah. And because
And
look
the
around, like,
yeah.
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 Anyway.
Well, yeah, so I went to church on Sunday in Burbank, California, which is
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of Hollywood, like the television studios and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to church, like everybody there looked like a movie star, right? Like the guys had highlights. They clearly the men had a hairdresser person. They were very
Mm-hmm.
concerned about their image, right? They wore all the
Sure.
trendiest clothes and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And and some people it's easy to look at that and say those people are caught up in all the things that don't matter. But you could
Hmm.
also say, but they work in Hollywood, so their jobs probably expect that. Or like if you're in that world,
Yeah.
then you kind of have to act, you have to look a certain way in order to like fit in with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a person could appear to be materialistic and still be a very faithful member of the church. And a
Sure.
person could get plastic surgery and be a faithful member of the church. So I don't
Yeah.
like this idea that like I don't know. I don't like this idea that says that if you're materialistic, you're less faithful.
Okay. That's not a true statement, and I think we know that. But do me a favor, real quick, Maddie.
Hmm.
Google, Google female leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints. I'm just saying. I just Googled it. I pulled up
Uh-huh.
this little screenshot of 9 of the female leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints,
Uh-huh.
and they look pretty put together.
Yeah.
They have a very specific look. They have a very specific look. It's not the Utah mom hair, but they have a very specific, very put together.
All of them.
They're
They
trim, they're
almost look like
neat,
yeah.
they're yep, yeah,
Wow.
uh, we we have an image. I will say that. Now, should we associate what you look like with your righteousness? Absolutely not. We know that, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, we do live in the world, right? And guess what? Sometimes I'm a run out to the grocery store in my pajamas. But
Hmm.
um but when I go to work, I dress a certain way. When I go to church, I dress a certain way. And I don't know, is that for me? Is that for my spirituality? Is that just because I'm a person in the world? I don't know, but I'm just saying
It is funny
look at
though.
those women. Yeah.
It is
Look at those
interesting though
women.
because I've met a couple of them. And so, like, when you meet somebody and you get to know them a little bit, you sort of don't think of them the way you think of them when you see a picture. And so, as I
Absolutely.
look at the pictures of them, I'm like, wait a minute, that picture doesn't actually, in my opinion, accurately reflect like who they are. Do you know what I mean? Because
I think so.
I
I
feel
think it
like,
does. Look at the Young Women's General Presidency on social media. I know you're not on there very much, but when
yeah,
those ladies post on Instagram, they're put together and they absolutely look like Mormon women.
but I would not say that any of them are materialistic.
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. I
Okay.
don't think I'm saying that it has to do with how much money you have. But
Yeah.
I am saying that we care an awful lot about how we look.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you know what, Melissa, based on that discussion, that was a big deal.
Okay.
That opinion piece in the Desert News.
Okay,
And I'm
thanks.
not gonna say mean things about the person that wrote it, but,
Okay.
wow. Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back to Big Deal, Little Deal, No Deal because
Okay.
we have to go in order and we
Yes,
almost
okay.
skipped Famous Mormons, which
Oh, how dare we?
I love Famous
I
Mormons.
know, it's so good. Okay.
So, Melissa, my daughter, sometimes will tell me that she likes a guy, and then she'll send me a picture, and I'll be like, "That guy is such a nerd," and
Oh,
she's like, "There's nothing wrong with liking a guy who's a nerd," and
no.
I'm like, "Yes, there is. You can't like nerdy guys."
No,
And
you
then,
should definitely marry a nerdy guy. That's 100% the move.
oh,
Yeah,
well, and then things happen in my life, and my wife points out to me that she's like, "You're a nerdy guy. Why would you?"
absolutely. Yeah, you couldn't be more nerdy.
Well, this Famous Mormons
Yeah, what
is
a
a
great
pretty
lead in. I can't wait to see where we're going with
it's a
this.
pretty nerdy topic.
Okay. All right.
Which online university president is a member of
Okay.
the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
I can't even name an online
Oh,
university.
you can. Once I say
Western
the name,
Governors?
there you go. There's one.
Okay. 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 All right.
I
Okay.
mean,
Which online university president
is a member
is
of our church.
or Mormon adjacent?
Yeah, or Mormon adjacent.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if you've never heard of these universities, it means you're not watching television, Melissa.
That's probably true.
Because especially at the new year, there's a lot of
Okay.
ads for this stuff.
Okay.
Okay, the first one we have is Lisa
Okay.
Marsh, who's the president of Southern New Hampshire University.
And that's online.
Have you not heard of this one?
Southern New Hampshire University?
I swear every
Yeah.
third commercial is Southern New Hampshire University.
Okay. Great. Okay.
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 Scott Pulsipher, president of Western Governors University.
I've only heard of that because I'm a teacher, and a lot of teachers get their graduate degrees from Western Governors.
Oh, okay. They
Okay.
actually have the highest satisfaction of any of the online programs.
Okay.
Lynne, who is the president of the University of Phoenix.
University of Phoenix.
You've
I
never heard
put
of
him.
University?
No, I think I have because yeah, I think I've heard of it because I think they used to have like big buildings in Salt
Yeah,
Lake.
on every like freeway exit there was
Yeah,
a
let's go with
university.
him. Let's go with Chris Lynn, University of Phoenix.
You're wrong. It's not him. Did you
Okay.
know, by the way, University of Idaho purchased University of Phoenix, and
No,
there's like this debate, and yeah, the answer is
fascinating.
Scott Pulsipher, Western Governors
Oh,
University, a member of our church.
all
Yeah,
right. Shout out. Okay. I would like to interview him.
yeah, Scott, we'll have you on sometime.
Okay.
I could have put university presidents, and we could have said Michael Benson, who we did interview a little while
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
But this was online university presidents because I wanted to lean into the nerd, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That was really boring. And I feel like you can do better. But, we played the game. It's fine.
it's time for big deal, little deal, or no deal.
Okay. Thank you.
All
All
right. The
right.
first story is this: Arizona regulators closed a failing charter school. It
Okay.
reopened as a private LDS religious school funded by taxpayers. Is that a big deal, little deal, or no deal? 3, 2, 1.
Little
Big
deal.
deal. Oh,
I
come
was
on.
leaning big. I don't know the whole story, but yeah, I'm leaning little to big. I'm not sure because is Arizona like a school choice where you get like what's
Hmm.
it called? Like vouchers or something to
Right.
pick a school?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then the state gives you money, and then you get to go to the school. So the school is called,
So is that how this is funded?
it's a K through 8 school.
Okay.
It's called Title of Liberty Academy,
Oh boy. Okay.
and they weren't doing so well.
Okay.
And they were going to close for financial problems, so they were going to shut down the school. But then the legislature changed to school choice, and so now people can pay to send their kids to um, Title of Liberty Elementary School in Arizona.
Uh,
Now
okay.
we might have listeners who have their kids at Title of Liberty School, and so you
Okay.
might get mad at us and say, "Hey, you don't know all of the facts of the story, and we don't know all of the facts
That's
of the
true.
story."
We don't know really any of the facts of the story.
I
I
just
just
like,
I do think it's
yeah,
interesting that, you could say like, I'm I am going to support a church, a religious school using taxpayer dollars. But I mean, I guess that could happen with any religion in the state if that's how they're set up.
right. It's just the way the Arizona does it, right? So according to this story, Arizona does no vetting of new voucher schools, not even if the school or the online provider has already failed or was founded yesterday or is operating out of a strip mall or a living room or a garage or offers just half hour of instruction per morning. If you're an individual tutor in Arizona, all you need to do is register to start accepting voucher cash. All
Okay.
you need is a high school diploma to start getting voucher money. So the fact that
Okay.
nothing is required by state law in Arizona just kind of makes this. I don't know why they decided to take the Mormon angle on it. Probably because it was a private religious school that was failing that happened to
Yeah.
be LDS adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of local control of schools. I really am. But this is an interesting choice that Arizona made. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not going to
Okay.
say anything more about that. I have
All
my
right.
own ideas of schools I would start
Okay.
if there were such regulations where I live, but Idaho has more standards apparently, so
Okay. Okay.
I can't.
We could brainstorm though. I bet you could come up with some really good ones.
I've got
Okay.
a really good one already. It's called PlayStation 5 High School. And you
Wow.
drop your kids off and I say to them, here's your assignment for the day. And when you're done with this assignment, PlayStation 5 for the rest of the day. And
Yeah.
if you don't do the assignment, PlayStation 5 for the rest of the day. But
You
we will keep
are
your kids 24/7 if you want. Drop them off, pick them up, whatever. We're the no school school. That would be my
you would
slogan.
not send your children there.
No, but I would take other people's children and all of the voucher money. I'd be like, "Would you like high school to be more like daycare? I've got an
Mhm.
option for you.
Okay.
It is my school."
Yeah. I'm gonna shut you up before you keep
Okay.
snowballing down this road. Okay. All right. Our next article is from the Salt Lake Tribune. It's based on the research that Jana Reese has been doing lately. She's about to put out another book. So here's the most recent headline: Who is most likely to leave the LDS Church and why? Big
Mhm.
deal, little deal, no deal. 3, 2, 1.
Little
Little
deal.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little deal. I'm always interested in this research that Jana Reese has done. I'm looking forward to when she puts out her next book. Um, I say Jana Reese, but sorry, she has another contributor, Benjamin Knoll.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's great.
Benjamin.
I
Okay.
like him so much.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So why do you think, according to her research, what what group of people, what kind of people, what kind of issues are causing people to leave the LDS church
My
currently?
guess, according to their research, would be young people who are displeased with LGBTQ stances from
Yeah.
the church and
Mhm.
or word of wisdom stuff.
The primary, yes, doctrinal concern is LGBTQ issues.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
The other kind of interesting research is so there's three groups of people in their research. There's the loyalists, which are the
Mhm.
people who are very active, very rule following. There's the liminals.
Mhm.
Liminals. They're like in between. They follow some of the things. They go to church sometimes, but not that often. They're kind
Mhm.
of out, but culturally in. And then there's the leavers, so the people who are gone. Okay.
Mhm.
So, among the people who are loyalists, so very active, follow all the rules, um, 52% of them have a 4-year college degree, more
That
than
makes
any
sense.
other group. Yeah.
Yeah.
The leavers and the liminals, only about 25% of those have a 4-year college degree. So, more educated
Mhm.
stays in the church. I think that's interesting.
That's pretty
Um,
common
do you
across
think so?
churches these days. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a part of the reason the church invests so much into the higher education.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I had never looked at that perspective before, but okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. The other thing is that 68% of the loyalists are married to their first spouse.
Also makes sense.
Yeah, married once, stayed married.
Yeah.
In the other groups, it's around 35% for both of those who are married to their first spouse. So
Mhm.
those are kind of interesting statistics to look at. But yeah, the data is not surprising. People who leave are having issues primarily with the LGBTQ decisions. Yeah,
Another
and
way you could state this, Melissa, is to say if you fit in the box nicely,
hmm,
you stay
hmm,
in the church
that
because
is
it's easy to
interesting.
do. Yeah.
You're right, Matt. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Hey,
Mhm.
you should write the headline. That's the headline. That's it.
Yeah, that's a better headline, huh?
Yeah.
Instead of
Okay.
who's most likely. But I
Yeah.
just want to emphasize this is about the United States. It's not true
Yes, it
globally.
is. True. That's true.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay.
Okay. The church has released a series of apostolic insights from the church has released video series
Okay.
of apostolic insights from General Conference. Does that
Okay.
make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Big deal, little deal, no deal. 3, 2, 1. No
No
deal.
deal.
I mean, this I understand why they do it, but I do not like something that I call apostle worship. I
Mm,
don't
mhm,
I don't like if there's a general conference talk from a member of the Quorum of the 12
mhm.
that people put heavier weight on that talk than they do if it's a member of the Young Women's Board or whatever.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so when they create videos, now again, I think the video production people are good, but
Okay.
when they create videos of just here's what the apostles are saying, it suggests that we should pay more attention to what they're saying than to what other people are saying. And that to me is a
Interesting.
little bit apostle worship, and I don't
Mhm.
love that.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I think it makes it easy to have something quick to throw into a lesson.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But yeah, I agree. I agree. I
If you
don't
go
like it.
to Deseret Book, you're going to find a book from almost anybody in the Quorum of the 12 or the
Right.
First Presidency.
Right.
And you see very few books from other people. And I think that
Mhm.
I like when our church is a group of, like, everybody has the opportunity to feel the Spirit and get insights and have valuable perspectives and valuable things to say. And not
Mhm.
everybody is going to get called to be a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles.
Right.
But if you're a general authority, we should listen to you because you're a general authority.
Okay.
Like the same, right? If you're in general conference, you're in general conference. And we should, like, when they start piecing together all of the lesser known individuals, that will make me more happy.
Okay. Noted. Now, do
Okay.
you think that we should listen more to release time seminary teachers or to early morning seminary teachers?
Early morning seminary for sure.
They have the upper hand.
In my opinion, because they're doing it as I get in all kinds of trouble. They are doing it as service, right? Somebody gets
Mhm.
called to be an early morning seminary teacher, and they're
Mhm.
putting in 20 hours a week of just service for
Yeah.
that calling,
Yeah.
and that's different than when you do it for a job.
But they don't have the religious education.
No, but neither do seminary teachers have
Yes, they
religious
do.
no, they don't. They don't.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm pretty
They have
sure.
to take classes.
No.
Yes,
I've
they
taken those
do.
I've taken those classes, Melissa. They don't teach you anything
Uh-huh.
about the religion. They
In
don't
the
even
house.
they barely teach you classroom management.
Okay. Awesome. Well, then here's my next headline. Okay. Here we go. Scriptures in one hand, a donut in the other. The costs of keeping LDS seminary students awake. Big deal, little deal, no deal. Three, two, one.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's big deal, but I love this take on the situation, which is basically this, okay? We've got a lot of seminary teachers who are early morning, like you said, they're just serving. This is their calling in the church.
Mhm.
And for the love of heaven, they are trying to keep those students engaged. And guess what? It can cost a pretty penny because you got to
Mhm.
bring food. Everybody knows this. And
Yes.
there's other costs too. But yeah, what do you think, Matt? Well, first of all, I will say as a teacher, absolutely food is the key to success.
Yes.
Undoubtedly. Every Monday, I have a meeting with my yearbook staff. You better believe I'm bringing home baked goods every Monday because guess what that gets them to do? Focus and frankly, trust me. Like, listen, food equals trust sometimes. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
Teenagers love food.
Mhm. They do.
Yeah.
I was an early morning seminary teacher, I think for 2 years. Maybe it was for more than that. I can't remember. And honestly, Melissa, it's my most favorite calling I've ever had
Yeah, I
because
bet.
you're just teaching the kids in your ward. Maybe they're sometimes from another ward or something like that.
Mhm.
But this is what I would do. I would go to some grocery store the day after Halloween and buy up all this candy that was like 50% off candy. And I would put it in this huge like bin. And
Yeah.
then on Fridays, every Friday, we would play some kind of like scripture bingo or some kind of scripture master or whatever. And you give them candy. But I also give them candy when they came in, give them candy when they
Yeah.
leave because candy is what keeps
Because
them there.
candy is love.
Hmm.
Candy is love. Okay, so Matt, did you have to spend a lot of money out of pocket?
I did. Well, whatever that Cost. Yeah, it was they would give me, there was a little bit of a budget.
So
So there,
according to this article, the church stipend, I don't know how this works in word to word,
yeah.
but the church is supposed to provide $50 per teacher per year.
Yep, that's about what it was.
That's not very much.
Well, that's
If
true.
you're
So this
bringing
was
yeah.
10 years ago. $50 went a little further. I
Mhm.
think a dozen eggs in California right now is like $13 for
Yeah,
a
yeah,
dozen.
yeah.
So $50 would buy you 5 donuts.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so
Well,
there is
listen
that element of it, right?
yeah.
But if you're a wise teacher, you can try and encourage them to bring the donuts themselves, right?
Sure. There's definitely workarounds. I
Yeah.
don't think this is a big problem where it's like, oh no, this one calling has to pay a lot of money. I mean, if that's a problem, I think you should bring it up to your bishop or to your leaders, and I think they would solve it. I
Yeah.
absolutely think they would solve it for you. Like me, we host dinners for our YSA kids
Yeah.
once a month. And is that expensive?
Sure.
Sure. But I don't mind doing it. But I'm not saying that like you should have to not mind doing it in order to have the calling. I'm just saying like our church has money. Honestly, if it's a financial cost, just talk to your leadership. I promise they'll solve it. But I
Yes.
100% encourage feeding seminary early morning students. It's a
Yeah.
great
So when
tool.
I was a YSA bishop, one of my counselors was a student. And
Hmm.
so, the bishopric does have young people over, and
Yeah.
he's like, I'm a student, I can't afford like this. And I was like, look,
Right.
we'll find money in the budget. Like, do what
Yeah.
you're gonna do, and we'll find a way to in the budget
Yeah.
to
We'll
pay for
support you. Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my
Anyways, I think,
opinion,
go
all
ahead.
seminary in the church should be early morning seminary. There should be
I
no
agree.
release time.
I agree. I think release time, listen, I'm not mad. I think those teachers are doing a great job. But to me, in Utah, it's like farming out your religious teaching to somebody else, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, okay. Yes, seminary is important. It completely is. But guess what I do as a parent? I say, like, oh, good. That's getting taken care of during the school day, right?
Mhm.
Like somebody's teaching them this lesson. That's great. It's being taken care of. They're memorizing scriptures, like all that stuff. I think they do a great job. But I do think it's ridiculous that it's a released hour from school. I think it's crazy.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
feel the same about religion classes too. Those should all just be institute classes.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's our soapbox. But shout out to all of those of you who are doing it. You're doing great work. Good job.
Okay, so the twin sisters hit an aspect of this story before, but the Wall Street Journal has a story. Okay, so it says
Okay.
it pays to have long hair and a beard in Utah. Jesus models are in demand. Is that a big deal, a little deal, or no deal? 3, 2, 1. Big
Little
deal.
deal.
No, it's a big deal.
Okay. It pays
Listen,
to have long hair and a beard in
listen,
Utah.
think for how many years having long hair and a beard in Utah meant that you were like a social pariah. You
A
come to
degenerate, a
That's right.
hippie,
The mothers want nothing to
a
do with you. You
homeless man.
can't date my daughter. You're probably on drugs. But now, there are people that at Christmas time say, we don't want pictures with Santa. We want pictures with Jesus.
Okay.
And the church handbook is pretty clear that at ward activities, you can't have somebody depict Jesus.
You definitely
So
can't.
what do? You find the man with the long hair and the beard who looks like Jesus and say, hey, do you want to go out to the church set in Goshen, Utah and take pictures with my family? Or this story in the
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal, they're at the salt flats. Jesus is walking on water at
Yeah.
the salt
Yeah.
flats. And
I'm
yeah,
very uncomfortable with this. Yes, the twin sisters talked about this a little bit. I'm very uncomfortable with this. Okay. And listen, the guy who plays Jesus in The Chosen, I bet he can't go anywhere in the world without being like noticed as, hey, there's Jesus. Cause like
I
he's
bet he
so
shaves his I
identifiable and
bet he shaves his
recognizable.
beard, cuts
Wears
his hair.
glasses.
He does
Yeah.
what is it called? A woof or a spoot or whatever
Yeah.
that
I don't
hairdo
know.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
An
Um,
oof.
but I mean, he's definitely making money on looking like Jesus, right? We definitely have actors in the church. But yeah, it's become a real moneymaker to look like Jesus these days, especially in Utah.
So when I was at BYU as a student, there was like this temple video, and the guy that played Satan was a student at BYU. So I remember one time we're in the locker room changing into our workout clothes, and this guy next to me was like, dude, it's Satan. And I'm like, oh, it is. It's Satan. And I was like,
Yeah.
poor guy, like forevermore, people are like, hey, you're Satan. No, I'm not
Yeah.
Satan. I played the part.
Yeah.
Or there's that movie. What is it called? There's like they sing the songs and hold on, The Lamb of God. Is that what it is? There was like that musical. Anyhow, the guy who plays Peter in this movie where they're singing about Jesus, he also plays Satan in one of the temple videos. And so for a long
Uh-huh.
time, I'm like, I'm confused. Are you Peter or are you Satan? Pick one.
Well, my husband's got a pretty good beard going on right now, so I'm gonna encourage him to get a side gig. If he can make money off of it, I mean, I don't think it's appropriate in my own life, but as a side gig, I think he should make us some
Could he
money.
pull off the long hair? If he were to grow his hair
Yes.
long, could
I
he
don't
perm it?
I think it's worth just investing in a really good wig,
Oh,
you
oh,
know,
Melissa, that's a
that he
great
could take on
idea.
and off. Yeah.
If
He could
your
do it,
if
right?
your husband had a wig,
Yeah.
he would totally pull off the Jesus thing.
I know.
I'm
Should we
gonna
should we post him? Should we do it and post it in the show notes? Just to give the
I
viewers, the
so
listeners' perspective on could he pull
I
this
I
off?
think members of the church, Easter's coming up relatively
Oh,
soon. So you just start doing he has some Instagram page of like the
yes,
paid Jesus or whatever,
the
and you
pale
just start posting.
Jesus hashtag. I can't wait to throw this idea at him. He's really gonna love it.
I don't think he would do it. I
He
don't
would
think he would.
never do it. He would
Yeah.
be like, "You are up in the night." You know, he works ski patrol. What if
Yeah.
Jesus was up on the
Oh
slopes?
my goodness.
You know?
You know how he likes to prank young people when they're camping and stuff, right?
Yes.
He would
Oh,
he would totally
yes.
do the real Jesus if he could prank them at the end, right?
Oh my goodness. We have so many storylines worked out for him. I can't wait to follow up
Yeah.
on this. Yeah.
I hope you're listening, Jed. I approve of these.
Good.
Okay, it doesn't always happen, Melissa, but this week we have a little time for This Week in Mormon
I'm
History.
so excited. I love history.
40 years ago this week. So
Okay.
this means we were alive because we're
Yeah,
over 40 years old.
we
40
are.
years ago this week, the BYU football team was voted number 1 in the nation following their perfect season, a national championship for BYU football 40 years ago this week.
Whoa, is that the only time they ever had a perfect season?
Yes, I think so. I
Sure,
think
let's state facts that we don't know for sure.
it's the only time a college football team in the state of Utah has won a national championship.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, 40 years is a long time, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It almost happened again this year.
Yeah,
Almost.
I heard. Listen, I think that everybody who's like a diehard BYU fan right now is still living in the 40 years ago dream. They're like, we were so good. And now it's time to say, you guys, that was 40 years ago.
Well, they're going to be ranked in the top 15 this year at the end of the year. They
Okay,
can
I
be
don't
happy.
know. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I don't know
Okay.
anything about
This
them.
is another, I bet
Okay.
none of our listeners know this story. Okay. This
Okay.
is 195 years ago
Whoa, did
in
the
the
church
year.
exist?
No. This was
Okay, okay,
it's January of 1830. So, you know,
okay.
a few months before the
April.
church is organized. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Abner Cole, editor of The Reflector, begins publishing pirated extracts from the Book of Mormon, which is in the process of being printed at the Grandin Press building, the same
Whoa,
building used by Cole to print his newspaper. This incident marks the first time Book of Mormon text appears in print.
that is salacious.
Isn't that
Oh
great?
my goodness, I love that story. So
Yeah.
he like pirated or stole extracts and printed it before the Book of Mormon was printed?
Yeah. Because
Oh my goodness.
he's printing his reflector in the same building where the Book of Mormon is getting prepared to be printed as the Book of Mormon. And so he just sees the papers there and he takes them and puts them in his
Wait,
thing.
was he a believer?
No,
Do we know?
he was not.
Okay. I need another t-shirt that says Abner Cole, original pirate villain, or something like that. I can work on it.
Book of Mormon pirate.
Book of Mormon pirate. It has a picture, like a little, silhouette of Abner Cole.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's a story we should tell in Doctrine and Covenants this
Yeah.
year.
Hey,
That would be a
everybody.
fun story,
On
right?
Sunday, right? When people
Yeah.
are talking about the restoration, now you have a little tidbit of information that people will be like, you are really into church history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're
Nice.
welcome. Okay, this is the last one.
Okay.
Because you quoted from the Salt Lake Tribune, and some of us get a dirty feeling inside when we hear about
No,
that.
we don't.
You'll find out why now.
Okay, all right.
155 years ago, the Salt Lake Tribune begins
Okay.
as a result of a movement to oppose the political and economic policies of the church.
Of what
William,
church?
the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
You're saying that was why they were founded?
hmm So
Okay.
these people, William S. Godby, Elias Harrison, Edward Tullidge, and William Shearman, they they had a different publication called Utah Magazine.
Okay.
And the Deseret News urged members of the church to boycott the Utah Magazine.
Okay.
And so, in response to that, those four people decided to join forces and publish the Mormon Tribune, which became
Okay.
the Salt Lake Tribune in
Okay.
January of 1870.
And they were like, "Ooh, Desert News, don't come at us. We'll come at you."
That's right.
Wait,
Yeah.
do they also get a villain T-shirt? Or I don't know.
Yeah. You could also do something. So, like my whole life growing up, people would talk about the Salt Lake Tribune with like derision or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It was like
Why is
Deseret
it
News is
villainous
holy.
to want to publish another opinion?
Well, because you have the people that are in the box and you have the
Okay.
people that are
Okay.
not in the
Okay.
box.
All right. Okay. Carry on. Carry on.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's this week in Mormon history.
That was
It's,
delightful.
yeah, I'm glad we had time for it.
Okay.
Hey, so listener, we would like to encourage you to subscribe to Patreon so you can get bonus content. For just a few dollars a month, you'll be a Patreon listener and you can get our content that goes on Patreon. You can get these episodes before they're available to the general public.
And
We
we'll
have.
like you more than anyone else.
Did you know, Melissa, when we did the year in review episode,
Yeah.
you could vote on like what you thought the top stories are?
Yeah.
And people who were Patreon subscribers, they were allowed to vote in that for
Oh
what
my
they
goodness.
thought the top stories are. So you
What
get
a
to be
privilege.
a little more
You're
interactive.
inside. You're inside. Okay.
And we have some fun interviews coming up this month
Mhm.
for the, what are we going to call that? The TWIM interviews?
That's what we call it.
You remember there was this TV show called Somebody Speaks, Martha Speaks? It's
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
Yeah, never mind. I don't like where I was going with that idea.
Okay, good. Good.
If you would like us to read an email that you send it to us at contact@thisweekinmormons.com. And if you want to listen to my other podcast called Real Mormonism, I'd love to have you join us over there. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes listeners will like listen to both of those podcasts and you get a little bit different flavor on
Mhm.
that podcast than on this
Yeah.
one. So thank you for listening to the original Mormon/Latter-day Saint news podcast. It's been great to be with you today. Hasta la vista.